On this episode of the next 24 hours, I'm going to introduce you to somebody who I like to think of as the Willy Wonka of marketing. Now, Brad Pappas, over the years, I've seen him come up with some crazy campaigns, execute them well, and surprise and delight millions just like Mr. Willy Wonka. Listening to Brad might just be your golden ticket. Welcome to the next 24 hours, where I'm going to give you real information you can really use to transform your life and work one day at a time. I'll be your host, Curtis Zimmerman. Welcome to the next 24 hours. Today we're going to have Brad Pappas join us. Now, Brad Pappas is the owner of an experiential marketing agency. It's called Instigator. Instigator Marketing, formerly Anova Marketing. I've known Brad for years, and believe me, he truly is an instigator because he's one of the first agencies ever to utilize street theater as an intercept marketing strategy. And I've been on many of those campaigns with him over the years as a performer. Now, Brad has designed and produced for giant CPGs, including P&G, General Mills, M&M, Mars, Mentos, Mints, Gap, Kroger, and many, many more. And he's going to talk to us today about how you surprise and delight people because he's been doing it for years. So without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Brad Pappas. Brad, how are you today?
I'm great. Curtis, how are you?
I'm trying to live the dream every day, my friend, as you know. I was hoping to kick off the show today that you could tell a little bit about how we met and how many years ago that was, because it's kind of a crazy story, how we really got to know each other from day one.
It is a very crazy story, and there's a whole generation that won't even know what we're talking about when we refer to mimes, M-I-M-E. But back in the olden days, in the 80s, there were street performers, and one of the more familiar ones around the country were mimes. And what they do is they pantomime and do all sorts of crazy actions, and they're amazing and thrilling, and they were very popular until they weren't. But when they were very popular, there was a French mime named Marcel, and one of my clients was Yoplait yogurt, and they were known as the yogurt of France. So they didn't have any new products, and they were looking for some publicity. So the Brain Trust, our company, and working with some folks at General Mills, came up with the idea of having a street performer, i.e. a mime, out at events to create news. So as a part of that, we did what we called the National Yoplait Mime Search. And this involved myself and a couple other people touring the country, going to the 12 major cities and looking for the very best mimes in those cities. Lo and behold, Curtis Zimmerman was the most fabulous mime, not only in LA, but he was truly one of the top performers from our whole national search. And I think that was about 1985, 86. And from there, Curtis toured the country. He did shows at the Rose Parade in Pasadena. He was at the White House, toured all over the country, as well as continue. We were able to work together on a variety of things, from educational materials for schools to just a bunch of other fabulous marketing promotions.
So it's it's a funny story, the National Yoplait Mime Search, and what was great about it for me was I got to meet you and really learn a lot from you as you kind of mentored me over the next really 3 years. So everyone that won got $2,000 in a 1-year contract with Yoplait yogurt to make special appearances. And as you mentioned, the culminating event was the Tournament of Roses parade, where there was a giant rose float of a mime, and then all 12 mimes were on the float, and we were all doing mechanical robots and waving to the audience, and and then we got to go to the game, and it was amazing. So then the year passed, and at that point, you said, let's keep this thing going. And that's where you and I really were able to then travel together. All the other Mimes, their contract was done. You brought me in for another year or two, and we did a lot of other appearances. But why I wanted to tell that story was the things that I learned from you about being a brand and being a brand ambassador. And those things have stayed with me my entire life, being on stage, being off stage. When you were right, we did a lot of TV shows and a lot of talk shows and things like that. Even though as a mime I performed, but then I would sit and be interviewed. And you really taught me how to do those interviews that when we arrive in the building, you're on. And until we get back in the car, you're on the whole time and you're performing, and anyone you interact with, from the secretary to the person that's the gaffer on the stage, it doesn't matter. You be professional, and your uniform has to be perfect and the little white face. And so I took all of those things, and you really helped me through being a brand ambassador. And now it's funny because over the years we've stayed in contact. You ended up hiring my best friend, who also was a performer, Robert Gapsa, and he worked with you for years. And the reason I wanted you on the show was I've done a lot of different things now in my life with marketing and as a performer and as a speaker, but you by far own the interactive kind of surprise and delight type of marketing that happens to people. It isn't marketing like something that you read in an ad or a TV commercial, not that you haven't done those, but can you tell us about experiential marketing and where it is now, the kinds of things you've done in the past, because they're really cool. Like, I know you had me go to 27 cities as Where's Waldo for another promotion. I was Waldo, and you do that kind of thing and come up with those type of ideas. Could you share with our audience why that's so important and why brands still need to get into that?
Sure, I can try and do that. So I was an actor out of college. I also toured doing magic as the marvelous magical Burger King, and did some commercials and things for them. And so when I got into the business of marketing, the great word experiential wasn't even invented. It wasn't a word that guys like me used in describing what we did. We called it event marketing. But for me, it was really utilizing street theater as a way to bring brands and bring them to life for consumers. So we did that on the streets of every city around the country, launching brands like Dove Promises, Craisins, Pantene for Procter & Gamble, just to name a few. And we would give this talent a character, and their job was to bring it to life and to engage an interaction with consumers where it truly was that idea of surprise and delight. We would have our Mom Patrol out promoting oatmeal raisin crisp cereal, and the commercial that they were running nationally was "Look, Ma, I'm eating my oatmeal." Well, our Mom Patrol were actresses who were phenomenal, who played, we had a biker mom, and we had a traditional June Cleaver mom, and we had every kind of personality, a Jewish mom, an Italian mom, all of them playing a part. And they would interact with people on the street, at events, in parks. Back in those days, we would put 30 to 40 talent on the street at one time. So they would be everywhere. And we were delivering millions and millions and millions of samples across the country. And what that did is it allowed us to have an engagement with consumers. We were able to answer their questions. Our favorite was when they received a sample from us, they would look at the sample, look at the character that just delivered the sample, and then look at the sample again and connect the dots. So that was always really powerful. We did the giant tours where we had buses that converted into retail for Gap. We would create a 60-foot destination at fairs and festivals where consumers could spend a half hour with the brand. So those tactics were incredibly successful and impactful. And that indeed was our strategy forever and ever. And why is it still relevant? I guess I would say it's more and more as people become more connected to their cell phones or just more in their own cocooned space. When we give them a chance to engage with other people, whether it's our teams or just put them in an environment where they are in a collective with other consumers, it feels unique, it's memorable. We certainly are very cognizant of the idea that every single person has a camera now, and that every single person is looking for an experience that they can share. So that's back to how can we create a moment in time that's interesting, memorable, and engaging enough that they want to share. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And I, there's so many questions I have in my head, so many things I just want for you to share with our audience, because you have such a wealth of knowledge with this. But so here I am. I'm at a big conference. I think I was in Chicago. I was the keynote speaker. I was speaker boy. I was woohoo. I'm all into it. And there comes these two totally buffed out guys. They look like they're from, I don't know what time period, gods. These guys are giant. And they're rolling this giant ball through the conference, and just over them, I see you standing there kind of directing. Will you tell everybody, what the heck was that about? This are the crazy ideas you come up with that are just like everybody was talking about it.
Well, the client was Office Max, and their icon was a rubber band ball. So again, in an effort to create some media attention and just create news when there really wasn't any news for the company, we identified somebody, this person, and the shocking thing was there were several somebodies out there creating giant rubber band balls. It's another sign of the apocalypse, I'm sure, but this guy was in his garage, and he thought it would be a great thing for his son to see a giant rubber band ball. And at that time, his rubber band ball was probably 5 feet in diameter. Yeah, it was huge. He'd been doing it for years and years, probably 3.5 years. Well, again, we discovered this guy along with others, and he seemed the most normal of the rubber band ball people that we found. And so we talked to him and said, hey, what if we can supply you with some more rubber bands? If that's what's been slowing you down, how big do you think you can get this? Well, other interesting fact is there was a rubber band ball already identified as the world's largest rubber band ball. That's a mouthful. In Guinness Book of World Records. So we identified the weight that we needed to beat that. So I wish I could remember the name of the gentleman who did this, because he was a character. And much like the Mimes, we secured him and helped him with supplies to get his rubber band ball more robust. This all happened in about a 2-month period. And then we created an event to do the unveiling of the world's largest rubber band ball. Well, the thing about a rubber band ball that's really large is it looks big, but if you're trying to convey weight, what's the best way to do that? So now, in a long path, I've gotten this back to the strongmen, the buffed out bodybuilders. Well, we knew that would be a great way to communicate great weight. So when we unveiled this to the world, we were in downtown Chicago, down at DePaul Plaza, and we had a marching band, and I don't think we had dancing girls, but we sure wanted them. But we had a real festive atmosphere. And then from behind the curtain were 4 monstrous guys, and their job was to roll this ball about 6 feet onto a scale. And it was a spectacle. It was amazing. It was right out of the Hollywood movies. There were lines of photographers and film crews, probably 20 from around the world, to cover the unveiling of this world's largest rubber band ball. And these bodybuilders were kind of hysterical because not only was it a heavy ball, I want to say it was 3,500 pounds or something like that.
I'm sorry, did you say 3,500 pounds?
Yes, 3,500 pounds of rubber band ball. And they made it seem like about 8,000 pounds because the math of 4 guys trying to roll a ball together becomes them competing with each other and almost pushing against each other. So they moved this heavy giant ball, but you would have thought they were possibly moving a building. It was it was perfect for media, and it was really crazy the mountains of publicity that we generated. So at the event you're speaking of, it became an icon that the brand used at meetings like yours when they're trying to get the whole team fired up and excited about the year. We would bring our rubber band ball, which we did tour around the country, as bizarre as that sounds, and people would come to Office Maxes around the country and go up on the stage and get their picture taken with the world's largest rubber band ball.
So the world's largest rubber band ball, how tall did it end up being? Because I remember it being almost as tall as I am.
It was probably about 6 feet in diameter.
Yeah, so I'm 6 foot. So I thought that it was about, like, I couldn't jump up on it. It was too tall.
So you're right. I could disappear behind it.
Right. And then the cool thing is, I believe we still have a couple in my house, was in order to give people a piece of that, you also had small rubber band balls that said Office Max on them, and you handed those out as souvenirs. And I remember I got 3 of them and I juggled them, and we took some pictures and whatnot, but I'm almost sure I still have one laying around here somewhere. How many of those smaller giveaways did you do? Was that like thousands, or was it just here and there?
It was probably tens of thousands. I mean, whenever you're giving out something for free, they all have a cost associated with them. And that was kind of an expensive premium. So to your point, yeah, we really were more limited. But I want to say that tour ran for 3 years of the rubber band ball touring around the country.
So I share these stories because part of your job is to, I'm not sure how to explain it, sit around and come up with crazy ideas. I know, let's have a mime search and then have it, live on television when we announce the winner. Let's find the largest ball in the world, rubber band ball, and then let's do this crazy unveiling and all of these things. So part of it is the idea. But then the other part that I don't think people realize is having that idea is one thing, but making it turn into a reality and then executing it well, city after city after city, that's a completely different part of your job and really a hard thing to do consistently, which I know you do. That's why big brands trust you.
Hello everyone, my name is Noah Zimmerman, and I'm the narrator of the audiobook version of Life at Performance Level. I'm sorry to interrupt this episode, but I just wanted to let you know that right now at curtiszimmerman.com, The audiobook version of Life at Performance Level is being offered absolutely free. It's right there on the center of the landing page. There's a button that says Free VIP Experience. Just click that and you'll have access to the audiobook and lots of other content that'll help you live the dream. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get back to the program.
Can you talk in a little bit about where do you get the ideas? I mean, do you just sit around and drink wine for 3 days straight and write everything down you think of? Where do those ideas generate in your brain? And do you have like a group of people, a mastermind group that you sit around and do brainstorming? I mean, everybody wants to be creative and we're going to take this class and what's your process to come up and vet these type of ideas?
Well, that's a great question. I've been doing this for over 30 years. So the process is varied. I'd love to say that we have this great brain trust that we always bring together and come up with the most creative things, sort of like Elton John and whoever his composing partner is. But truly, we try to listen to the brands when we're creating something for them to understand what's their objective. Do they need, and to deliver that objective, do we need 10 seconds with the consumer or do we need a minute and 10 seconds? What kind of engagement do we need to create to accomplish whatever their objectives are, to make people more familiar with the brand, to obviously most brands want to sell more product, but truly, what are they hoping to accomplish with the activity that we're going to provide for them? Sometimes it is indeed just media. How can we do something that's either so clever, so outrageous, so unexpected that we're going to create media? Frequently, though, it is in our minds, how can we create a spectacle or a moment in time where not only we get to deliver the brand message to the one consumer, but really have everybody watching what happens when these consumers interact with us. We had this very crazy thing for 7-Up one year where they had a clever commercial where the comedian and the actor that they used had a t-shirt that said, "Make 7" on the front of the shirt and "Up yours" on the back of the shirt. And those t-shirts became so crazy valuable. We would give them a t-shirt. We were of course sampling 7-Up everywhere we went, but we would give them a "Make 7 Up Yours" t-shirt if they would show us a stupid human trick. Well, the capacity for stupid humanness is great, and the things that people would come up with, obviously, public nudity was probably the first choice that we had to control right away because that just seems to be the default. But there were people who could walk on their hands everywhere and anywhere. There were jugglers. There were people who could make weird noises out of their different parts of their body, usually their face. But it was just a really crazy campaign, and that was all about using humanity to become our performers for us. And we've used that tactic quite a bit over the years. So that's a variation of using mimes or having the world's largest rubber band ball. And how do you create a moment? We helped Kellogg's introduce a new brand, one of their cereals, where it was the flash mobs. That's what it was called, flash mobs. So before flash mobs, we would hire dancers who would be out in a public place, and we'd have samplers around. All of a sudden, we'd bring up the music, and there'd be 10 couples that would start swing dancing all over the plaza to the music that we brought up. So now we've created a performance where consumers are all kind of rushing in to see what's going on. We would end the music, we would end the dance. Our group would go out and do their sampling and interact with people, and then we'd do it somewhere else. So we would recreate this flash dance, if you will, all over the city, and we would be in that market for 3 weeks. So we were doing these pop-up performances everywhere all the time, on subways, at public places, at festivals, at events. It was pretty remarkable. And so it really became that whole idea of how do we come up with tactics that are going to accomplish what we need to do for the brand? Is it product sampling? Is it brand awareness? Is it a demonstration? When we were helping to introduce Swiffer, we would create a portion of a house in a pop-up vehicle and be at Home Depots and Lowe's and places like that, and consumers could get up and really actually spend 3 to 5 minutes with the brand and learn more about it.
Right now, a lot of people are losing their job. A lot of people are reevaluating, oh, wow, I had 9 weeks where I kind of stayed home. And as I go back out into the world, what do I want to bring with me and what do I want to leave behind? And I want to do it as a marketing exercise. So we have so many people doing Zoom meetings and doing teleconferencing. And when you think about what you bring to the table, how can you surprise and delight? And what kinds of things are you thinking about moving toward all things social media? How can you use your brain to surprise people where they are? And right now, a lot of times that's in front of a screen. Can you take us through kind of where you think we are now and where you think it's going?
Well, that's a great question, and it's really relevant, obviously. Yes, we do know that the world is changing at warp speed right now, and to your point, people are spending more time in front of the computer. Well, brands still want to interact with consumers. So we do have a campaign that we're just out there sharing with different brands. And the working title is Party Crashers. And it's celebrity party crashers. So imagine you are on a Zoom meeting and you are all doing introductions, et cetera, and boom, Billie Eilish is suddenly in your meeting. And she just wants to hang out. She's not there to perform. She's just there as another person interacting with your group. We feel that is such a unique experience. And if a brand is allowed to bring celebrities, whether they're athletes or actors or musicians, and allowing consumers to have a really unique experience, that starts to check the boxes. It's shareable, it's memorable, and it absolutely allows a brand to have a connection with a performer that is really special and unique. And so that is indeed a strategy that we have developed to be relevant in this current climate. We also know that there are a lot of brands that are still trying to get their products into consumers' hands. So we have a program called Teacher Appreciation Pack. And the Teacher Appreciation Pack is as simple as it sounds. We know teachers are amazing, especially all the parents that had to teach their kids at home or assist in that process over the spring. And it allows brands to reach a great demographic. It's over 75% women, and they have the right income, and it's just a really delightful audience, of which there are over 3 million around the country, and we allow brands to tap into those groups. So just to explain what the Teacher Appreciation Pack is, it is a pack. So imagine that teachers will receive a gift in the mail that is think of a Happy Meal size box And it has product, free samples. It has high value coupons. And the whole idea is, again, how can we surprise and delight teachers? How can we allow brands the opportunity to deliver their brand experience directly to this great demographic? And it really is built behind that idea of how can we say thank you to this group that statistics show that the average teacher spends $400 of their own money in their classroom every year. So how can we show appreciation? How can we deliver a gift that will indeed be, I don't want to overstate it, but we all love to receive presents. So it's uplifting, it's surprising, it makes you happy. And that the brands that are involved in this pack are the beneficiaries of that experience.
Wow, I love that. And tying it back to what you were saying before, the concept of being on a Zoom call and all of the sudden you've received some type of little box, like a little birthday size gift idea, and you're told from your company or whoever this meeting is being delivered by, don't open it until we give you the cue during the Zoom meeting. So what I love about that idea is we're able to take the digital and bring it into your real life. So at a certain point, this actor, this performer, this singer, this athlete is on, and it's Shaquille O'Neal, and all of a sudden he says, okay, everybody open your package, and it's an autographed card of Shaquille O'Neal's rookie card, and everybody gets it, and it brings the outside into your real life. And there's a million different ways you can do that. But I love those ideas. And that's why I'm excited about talking with you about helping some of the brands that I love do that by executing that well. And I just have to say thank you so much for all of your time, for all of the things that you've brought into my life personally, but also the millions and millions and millions of people you've impacted over your career with surprise and delight. It's funny because, you and I have talked about the gift of just passing a smile. And it seems like it's kind of trite and it's not that big of a deal, but you never know who you're impacting with that smile. And you never know what kind of day they're having and how they're going to then pass that smile on to someone else. And I know you've passed millions and millions of smiles and made millions and millions of people's day just a little bit better. Part of the podcast, The Next 24 Hours, is just about that, Brad. And that's why I wanted you on the show. And that is, you don't have to do giant things. You just have to impact your world and impact the people around you right now to make the world better. And in these trying times that we have, I've seen you do that. I've seen you take over festivals. I've seen you just make so many people feel good with just like crying over getting a little sample of something because of the way you've delivered it. Or I know you've done things where you say, hey, here's a $5 coupon and here's another $5 coupon, but I want you to give this to somebody that you know needs it. Those type of ripple effects, you've just, I can't tell you how much of an impact it has. And I wanted you to say thank you so much. You're a shining example of everyone that's listening. I want you to take control of making someone else's day. You don't have to be a brand, even though I know you are, but take the time to go out of your way to make somebody else smile. And I've seen you do that so many times. So I just want to say thank you for that. And thank you for the impact you've had on my life.
Well, Curtis, thank you. Those are very kind words. And truly, truly, I am a product of all of the amazing people I've worked with. And I learned so much way back when we were doing the Mime search. And just a quick plug, we actually have a division in our company, and it's Share a Million Smiles. And your stories are right on, where we like to empower consumers to do something nice for others. And it's so powerful, and you are an example. I've seen your presentations, and they're amazing. And the joy that you pack the room with, as a marketer, I'd like to figure out how to get that formula and share that everywhere. But I really appreciate the opportunity. It's always great to see you, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. My pleasure, of course, Brad. And as we wrap up, a lot of people I think are going to want to know more about you and your company. Could you just give us your company's name? I know it's Instigator, right? So what I'm hoping is you can share your company name, and if people want to find out more about you, where would they go to learn more about my good friend Brad Pappas?
Well, the best place would be to contact me at B as in boy, Pappas, Pappas, at Instigator. That's INSTIGATORMK.com. They can also visit our website at instigatormk.com. But we'd love to hear from them, and my email would probably be the best.
Thank you so much, Brad. God bless you for what you do, and I look forward to the day when we're back in the same room. So it's clear we've known each other for years and years, but we were out of contact for maybe 15 or 20 years, and we've reconnected recently, and look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon. All right? Have an amazing day, and thanks again for being on the podcast the next 24 hours.
Thank you, Curtis. Take care. Look forward to seeing you soon.
And now it's time for the 24-hour challenge. This is where you take the content we just listened to and we go and apply it in our real life. Remember, knowledge is not power. Knowledge applied is powerful. So your 24-hour challenge, you have to do this within the next 24 hours, is simply to surprise and delight someone. Now, this can be as simple as sending a real email. What does that mean? An email that's from the heart, an email that says, listen, we've been in business together a long time, or we've been friends for a long time, and I want you to know right now how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate your friendship, how every day I know you have my back makes my day better. It can be as simple as that. Let's talk about the people that we live with. How can we surprise and delight somebody? Hey, I'm at the grocery. I'm going to just grab one rose and I'm going to hide it. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to take a tray and I'm going to put the one rose on the tray and I'm going to make the person's coffee and I'm going to have a little Post-it note that says, I love you so much. I'm so glad you're with me. And you're going to just bring that in the morning. Oh, what's the occasion? The occasion is I appreciate you and I love you so much and I need to tell you more. Take the time to surprise and delight someone. Do it now. Pick a person, pick what you're going to do, and execute. And of course, keep living the dream.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of The Next 24 Hours. Don't forget that to access the free audiobook that's available right now, go to curtiszimmerman.com and click Free VIP Experience on the landing page. Have a great day and remember to keep living the dream.